Whoa! I love that intro. Thanks for the music.
Hello.
Hello, we're awake. We're awake. I'm surprised. You don't drink coffee, but yeah, it's nice that you're this awake at 7 o'clock. It's pretty good. I'm not very awake, but I'm getting there. I'm drinking coffee. What? Welcome, Jay. I hope you're having a good day. Hope everybody in the chat is. Yeah, I see some murder minions. Welcome, murder minions. We got VooDoo in the house for you tonight. I am not kidding. VooDoo. We got VooDoo murders. We got VooDoo queens. We got VooDoo practitioners. It's going to be all about the scary stuff. Very scary stuff. Like, this stuff is wild. But I figured we finish out Louisiana in style after we did Mardi Gras in Louisiana last week, and give you some more voodoo, and then we'll move on if the voodoo lets us. I hope it's not contagious. What do you think, Jay? Like, I hope it don't get us. Hope nobody got no dolls out there on us that would keep us here with this stuff.
Well, who do we want to start with first?
Well, I have an interesting read from with the voodoo murders themselves. Supposedly, this is kind of wild because there's a lot of controversy about this one. It's supposed to be about a person named Clementine Barnabel. And she was a very young girl. She was supposed to be responsible for them. But then they found out like she's part of this whole bigger thing. Well, let me just start out. Like, I'm going to let somebody else be here. Like, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I actually found her confession.
Well, good. Let me play this.
It's a long confession too.
Is it?
Yeah.
Do you want me to read it? Like, I read confessions pretty well. Yeah, you're gonna read it? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me play this clip that I have here of what they think she did, and then you could read the confession, because she like confessed to what, 35, right? 35 axe murders, and she was 17 to 19 years old. Okay, from the time she was 17 up. Like, this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Like, as far as like good, like, not that there were murders, but good as like controversial. This is just not our normal thing. Okay, so let me this is actually a little podcast, and they actually read their own article, which is nice because I don't have to read it for. I shall play this for you. Let me know if you guys can hear it nice and loud. Hopefully you do.
Midnight axe murders. 1909 marks the beginning of a very fearful time for many Negro families in southern Louisiana. This was the time of a murder rampage where families of 5 were targeted and slaughtered in the middle of the night. The weapon was always the same, an axe. However, the murderer never used the same axe twice, because they would always use the axe that belonged to the family they would kill. While the family was asleep, the murderer would locate and take the family axe, then break into the victim's home. Once inside, they would proceed to kill everyone in the house. Entire families were taken out all at once. Many of the murders are attributed to a young lady named Clementine Barnabel. On November 26, 1911, Clementine targeted the Randall family in Lafayette. She claimed 6 lives that night. In April of 1912, Clementine confessed to killing a total of 17 people, and in October, at the age of 19, Clementine was sent to Angola. It is now known that Clementine was not the only one who was committing these crimes, because the axe murders continued even after she was thrown into jail. It is believed that Clementine was part of a group called the Human Five, which was derived from the Church of Sacrifice. Police officials were never able to find the rest of the axe murder group. Eventually, the family killings died out, but the identity of the remaining group members may never be discovered.
Okay. Let me tell you who that was, Jay, for the podcast. I'll get you the answer here. Because it was not on the top where I was with all the pictures. So it is by Nina Hoffmeyer. And it's called The Midnight Axe Murders, The Killings of Clementine Barnabel. And I'm going to actually add this to this description below. because that was quite interesting. There's a map here. There's a couple of related resources down there. I know you guys like your facts, so I really liked this podcast because they listed a whole bunch of other articles that you can go. So this one's definitely going to get linked down there for you. There's a few things already, but some of this I wanted to save till after to make sure it was good. This was good, so we'll definitely link this one. So you have the actual confession.
I have the actual confession.
Yeah? Okay. Well, I think we should. I think we should hear that.
So it was Tuesday, April 2nd, 1912, and Clementine gives the following account of the tragedies to Mr. R.H. Broussard, a reporter for the New Orleans Item. So she says, "My name is Clementine Barnabel. I was born and partly raised in the town of St. Martinville and moved to Lafayette about 3 years ago, where I began to lead a life of degradation. I have never married. It is while in the company of 2 other women and 2 men while in New Ibria. I think it's Ibria. That we met an old Negro who told us that he could sell us conjas, which meaning voodoos.
Yeah, they're voodoos. They're little conjures, like little witchcraft things, like we would call it. Yeah, voodoos.
Yeah, hoodoos. Yeah,
voodoos. Okay.
Yeah. With which we could do as we pleased, and we will never be detected, and would be protected from the hands of the law by the mere fact that these conjas being in our possession. We bought them and paid $3 each for them and left New Ibria the same night, returning to Lafayette. When we began to plan our actions, we had not yet decided on committing any murders, but it was while we were discussing our future plans that the question came up as to whether we could kill and be protected by the hoodoos. One of the gang was instructed to go to New Imbria and interview the hoodoo man, who said we were safe in any and all actions which we might do. Our lives would at all times be fully protected by the power of the hoodoos. Yeah. So this is
this is her confession. Like, these are her words. Like, he's reading Clementine.
Clementine's words to R.H. Broussard from the New Orleans Item. So she says, they drew lots for the first murder. It was sometime during the year 1910, I believe in the fall, that I went to Rain with my companions, and we drew lots to know who would make the first attempt of the hoodoos in committing murders. The lot fell to me, and accordingly, I got to work that night. I went to my sister, who lived in Rain near the OG Railroad Depot, and later during the night went uptown disguised as a man, securing an axe in the yard near the cabin where I killed the other. Yeah, it says, and that's what she says. In the yard of the cabin where I killed the other and 4 children. When asked how she gained admission to the house, she said that the house was lightened. I saw a light that was burning, and by that I could easily see inside. I saw the mother sleeping in her bed. Then I decided that I would enter the house, and there began the work which we had planned.
Always was helping you out there.
Iberia.
Yeah, Iberia. You had it right.
Okay.
You got there. You got there.
I got there. Iberia.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So on entering the house, I struck the woman in the right temple and killed her instantly. One of the children was awakened by the noise, and before he could raise his head from the pillow, I struck him a blow somewhere near the left ear. Then I struck the other 2. I left the man's clothes, which I wore in the house, and left the house in woman's clothes. Returned to my sister's house, and later during the night, I boarded a night train for Lafayette, arriving here about midnight. It was about 9 when I killed them.
Oh.
So
she's pretty haughty for a young girl, isn't she?
Yeah.
Like, was she like 19 when she wrote that?
Yeah, 17, something or somewhere around there.
Yeah, I mean, she started killing at 17, right? And then I don't know when she did the confession, when they got her at 19.
Yeah, it said this was April of 1912.
Okay, so she was 18, right?
Yeah, so,
oh, wow.
What?
I mean, it's just the way she's so blasé about it. Like, oh yeah. I don't know. There's more to it. She write more.
Oh yeah, there's tons of it left.
Tons of it. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, buckle up. Get your popcorn. Here we go. We got more
So,
Clementine. Okay.
on my return to Lafayette, I reported the matter to the other members of the gang, and we watched the development in the case with great interest. When we saw that we had not been detected, we decided that the hoodoos had done their part and we were safe. She then told of how they killed the family at Crowley, explaining every detail, how they left Crowley the same night.
Yeah.
One of the women going to Rain and the others going to Lafayette.
Mm.
In Crowley, she said, I entered the house with the one woman while the other kept watch, and I had the axe in my hand and committed the murders. I struck the first man first, just as I did. The woman woke up. I struck her a blow to the face with the butt end of the axe and felled her. I struck her once or twice to make sure she was dead. Once this was done, it was an easier matter to get rid of the two small children. We thought it would be better to kill them than leave them in orphanage as orphans, as they would suffer.
Oh, I have more on that. When you're done, I'm gonna go over that murder right there, the one you're talking about. She was a met.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
She goes on to say from Crowley, we came back to Rain together. One of the three stopping in Rain, and the other two, myself and another, came to Lafayette. Later, we were joined by a third who told us how the officers had searched for the murderers all around her. We never spoke of committing any more murders until sometime in February.
Mm-hmm.
The night before the election, we knew that all the officers would be busy politicizing. We went to the refinery, and there we laid our plans, not knowing who would be the victim or victims. When we reached the railroad crossing, we saw a light burning in a cabin near Ramagosa's store. We decided that was a good place, so we went there. Myself and one of the women entered the house, and I struck Timmy, the man, first, then his wife, and afterwards his two small children, one of whom was an infant in the cradle near the bed. We had overlooked him until he woke up and began to cry. I turned around and struck him in the forehead.
Oh, gosh. Girl. Oh, man.
Now, here's where it starts to get interesting.
Interesting?
Yeah, we took them. We took the man and woman and placed them in a kneeling position and left the house. I was near the house the next morning when Timmy's brother came to the house and called them, but not getting an answer, he looked through the window and saw them dead. He began crying, and I was one of the first to go to him and ask him what had happened. He told me, and I went to notify the parents who lived nearby. I helped to wash them and prepare them for burial.
Why why that couple?
Because they had a light on.
Okay. Oh,
that was the reason they had a light on.
That's it. Oh my gosh, this is like, this is wild. Thank you. I do not recall who threw this at me a couple of weeks ago. They mentioned these voodoo murders, and I'm telling you, this is like, I can't believe I didn't know about this. It's just so wild. Jay, she's a hot mess, man.
We've got one more murder to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go on, Clementine. Give it to me, Clementine.
Pure evil.
Yes, I'm telling you. And it was a whole gang, and they went after gangs, like whole big families, all of them at one. Like, oh my gosh.
So it was on Sunday night. We went out for a frolic, and we went to a meeting of the God's Sacrifice Church. After we left the church, we secured an axe and took with us a bundle of old clothes, which we carried with us. We met two of the night officers, and when we saw them coming, we hid the axe in the grass until the officers had passed us, and we went back to get it. We went a little way up the street and saw someone coming. I laid the axe behind a tree. When we saw who it was King Harrison, the minister of the God Sacrifice Church. We told him there had been two men fighting up the street, as the officer would see him around there and arrest him. He did as we told him and went around. This left us all alone in the street, so we crawled to the house and entered from behind and killed them. Once we killed them, I took a pistol, which I had hidden under my dress, and shot Norbert Randall, the man I killed. I struck him somewhere in the breast or body. I got the pistol from my brother's house during the afternoon and returned it the same night, so as not to be seen with it should the officers catch me. After this, we went up to talk the matter over, returned home about 2 o'clock in the morning, and went to bed, where I stayed until I was awakened by the man I worked for the next morning about 5. I worked around the house until I was arrested by Mr. Peck about 10 in the morning. So the guy says, when asked if there was any agreement made to tell on one another, she said that there had been such an agreement made, but she wanted to tell her own part of it so to clear her conscience. She's never given any names of her accomplices to the officers, but all the information so far has proven fabrications. Sheriff Lacoste and his deputies are following every possible clue and hope to solve the mystery murders. Yeah. So and the rest of the article just says their confession has been received with varying shades of belief owing to the positive way she swore in the trial of her father and the misleading information she had given to her accomplices.
Well, but here we go, because that's important information right there. Her father's a killer also of multiple family. There was a family of 4, right, that he just took out. And so it is suspected that he may be one part of this gang, like the 5. We don't know. They never found the other 4 accomplices. Like, they are agreeing there's probably more than one of them. They all are from this church. It's organized. They planned this. Like, I don't get it. Like, why? I don't understand why they have to keep doing this. They're terrorizing like a whole town, a whole county, not even just a town. And she seems to not even be batting an eye. Lash at it. I mean, she's so damn calm in that confessional. I'm creeped out. I'm almost as creeped out as a Jack letter. Not quite. Jack just has a thing. But she's so young. She's so young. I can't believe it. She's so cold and so young. Yeah.
Somebody remind me before we log off. I actually have a comment on our Jack the Ripper stream that I wanted to read to everybody.
Oh, okay, cool. From the stream?
From the stream, not my video. It was from the stream that we did on Jack the Ripper.
Oh, okay. Do you want to read it now before I read about?
Let's finish.
Okay. All right. We'll end with it. I'll remind you. We'll end with it. Okay. All right. So if you're done with the confession,
I'm done with the confession.
Let me just get into the nuts and bolts of what happened here. So, as Jay had said, or actually Clementine via Jay had said, in January of 1911, is when this first murder was discovered. It was a police officer in West Crowley, Louisiana, received an urgent phone call. Neighbors feared something terrible had taken place on Western Avenue. And indeed, when the police arrived, Officer Ballou arrived at the house. He found the home's 3 occupants, a man, a woman, and a small boy, lying in a bed with their skulls split open. The bed was drenched in blood, and bloody footprints speckled the floor. The doors were locked, indicating that the killer had come in through a window and murdered the family while they slept. There was a bucket of blood in one corner and a head, and at the head of the bed, just above the bashed-in bodies, stood the bloodied axe. The local newspaper.
What does that sound like?
It sounds like the other one, the axe murders, doesn't it? Okay, like they were in Louisiana too, right? And they are similar, and only that was a man that was accused of that. Okay, I wonder if he's a part of these 5. I don't know. I'm getting confused.
Well, I also found out too, when reading up on Clementine here, there was not only the axe murders, there's also another series of axe murders up in Texas too, all about the same time.
Yeah, and it kind of the same too. It was it was families, wasn't it? Okay, this is like crazy stuff. Okay, so the local newspaper, of course, is freaking out. They're saying it's the most brutal murder in the history of the whole area. They've never seen anything like it, and it was just one of the axe slayings that would terrify parts of Louisiana and Texas in the 1910s, because they're right on it here, Jay. The newspapers were all into it. The crimes would become connected to rumors of a deranged voodoo priestess and a cult called the Church of Sacrifice, which was said to butcher its victims as part of strange rituals and rites. But though suspicion initially focused on several men, as we know with the other axe murders, okay, the murderer would turn out to be an African-American woman named Clementine Barnabel, who may have had a little connection to voodoo at all. She would eventually confess to killing 35 people, though exactly how many people she murdered is unknown. At the start of the second decade of the 20th century, the murders blazed a path of terror through a cluster of towns along the Southern Pacific Railroad line. While sources argue about the first murder connected to the case, it may have been a woman named Edna Opalasis and her 3 children killed in Rayne, Louisiana in November 1909. The next killing took place in late January 1911 when Walter Byers, his wife, and their son were hacked to death in Crowley, in Louisiana. The police were somewhat used to crime happening in their largely poor part of town, but the brutality of these murders, because they were brained with an axe, as one source put it, rarely surprised them, and they weren't ready for it. A little more than 4 weeks later, on February 25th, the murderer struck again, killing 4 members of the Andrews family in Lafayette, Louisiana. But then the police began to suspect that their crimes were so similar they may have been the work of the same terrible monster. A month later in San Antonio, Texas, Alfred and Elizabeth Castaway were murdered in a similar fashion, along with their 3 children. After a few false leads, police focused on Raymond Barnabel. This is a local petty criminal and sharecropper from Lafayette who lived in the back part of town. Raymond was arrested based on suspicions from his mistress after a fight. She griped about him to a friend and suggested a possible connection to the murders. Raymond is Clementine's father. During his trial in October 1911, Raymond's children, Zephyrin and Clementine Barnabel, told a graphic story of her father returning home one night with blood on his clothes as he threatened the family. Zephyrin confirmed the story, adding that their father bragged that he killed the whole damn Andrews family. Both children said they feared for their life if their father was free. But while Raymond sat in jail, another murder took place. On November 26, 1911, Norbert Randall, his wife, and 3 children and nephew were all murdered in Lafayette in the same heinous fashion, but with one horrific addition. While the rest of the family was attacked with an axe, Norbert was shot in the head.
Now, see, that is completely contradictory to what Clementine said in her statement to the press. She said she shot Norbert in the chest or body.
Yeah, well, they said head here. I don't know. I don't have forensics.
Well, that's
1911, they didn't give me reports. They won't let me have the reports from 1911. Is that shocking, Jay?
Yeah,
I can't get them.
That goes to what the paper was saying, that her stories were inconsistent.
Fantastical and inconsistent. Yeah. Like she's all into it, but it's drama. Like she just thinks she's cool. She actually thinks she's cool because of this. I'm flabbergasted. Okay. It was clear a killer was still on the loose. Lafayette Parish Sheriff Louise Lacosta, who was already suspicious of Raymond's children, arrested them both. His suspicions stemmed in part from the fact that they had bad reputations around town. During Raymond's trial, their neighbors, the Stevens family, described them as filthy, shifty, and degenerate. Well, that's a mouthful.
That's a little rude.
That's a little rude for a neighbor. Oh, my God. But you know what? I think after that confessional, they may have been onto something. I'm just saying. And there was another detail that concerned Lacoste. When police came to the Barnabel residence to arrest Raymond, blood from the Andrews murders had been discovered on Clementine's clothes. She testified during her father's trial that he had wiped the blood there, but the sheriff wasn't so sure. Indeed, when deputies arrested Clementine and searched the family's home, they found more damning evidence. As the Daily Picayune reported on November 28th of 1911, there was a complete suit of women's clothes in her room, saturated with blood and covered in human brains. Not only that, but the latch on their door was covered in blood. Zephyrin provided an alibi for the night of the murders, but Clementine had none and was taken to jail. Even then, the murders didn't stop.
So, and this is where
the human 5. Right?
Yeah, this is where where we're getting into the gang part. There's more than one actual killer here.
Exactly. They are, as the podcast said, they have settled on this theory that there are 5 of them based on all of the evidence that they found in different particulars of each crime scene, whatever. They have decided there are 5 of them all together working together. So in January of 1912, 3 more families were murdered. In the third instance, when Felix Broussard, his wife, and their 3 children were killed in Lake Charles, Louisiana, the killers splayed the victims' hands apart with pieces of wood and left a handwritten message on the wall. Some sources say the message was written in blood, others in pencil. Either way, the letters spelled a spooky sentence. When he maketh the inquisition for blood, he forgetteth not the cry of the humble. A version of Psalms 9:12 in the King James Bible. The message was signed Human 5. The number in the signature led the police to think of a band of murderers were at work, and it also lent the group a nickname picked up by the press, the Human 5 Gang. The newspapers had a field day and seized on the idea that the murderers were connected to a voodoo ritual. One of the first to take that angle, the El Paso Gazette, published a story on the Broussard murders titled "Voodoo's Horrors Break Out Again." The story suggested the crimes were connected to human sacrifice that took place as part of a voodoo ritual and emphasized the idea of the number 5 as somehow having ritualistic relevance. 2 months ago, 6 members of the Wexford family perished at the hands of the fanatics, but one was an infant that had been born only the day before the tragedy, and in all probability had not been taken into consideration when plans for the human sacrifice were consummated. The reporter for the paper wrote about this. Now comes the Broussard tragedy, with its 5 victims, thus completing a series of sacrifices of 5 separate families, each evidently intended to have involved 5 victims. These numbers were not entirely accurate, though. The victim counts in a particular family typically ranged from 4 to 6. The El Paso Gazette was one of many to run with the voodoo angle. After their story hit newsstands, several local papers also printed the possibility that the murderers were connected to voodoo. Around the same time, rumors were swirling that Clementine was the leader of some kind of cult called the Church of Sacrifice again, which was supposedly led by one Reverend King Harris, a Pentecostal revival preacher with a small congregation connected to the Christ-sanctified Holy Church. Police took Harris in for interrogation after rumors of religious involvement ran rampant through the community. But the Reverend had never heard of a Church of Sacrifice and was visibly shaken to think his sermons could have possibly inspired a series of bloody axe murders. I mean, he was actually like taken aback, you know.
Yeah.
The eventually investigators would get at least some of their answers. Here we go. On April 5th of 1912, Clementine made a full confession, and Jay read it to you. She admitted in that confession to 17 murders. She claimed she had bought a voodoo charm meant to protect her while committing her crimes, and said that she and her accomplices drew lots to see who would commit the murders. She also said that she disguised herself as a man to better lurk unnoticed at night. The Daily Picayune noted that she declared she killed the children because she did not wish them to be left orphans in the world. Her motives for the crimes, however, were never made clear. The
From what it
Lafayette,
sounded like, it just to see if they can get away with it.
it does, right? It's just like, oh, well, we're just doing it. You know, we're just doing it. Yep, voodoo stuffs.
Yep,
Raven,
voodoo
voodoo stuffs protected her from getting caught. Not too well. She needed to get like a better charm or pay more money for it or whatever, because it didn't work too good. Well, because she confessed. I mean, I don't know. You have a charm to protect yourself and then you go and confess. I don't know. It don't make sense to me. Indeed, it was difficult to keep Clementine's story straight. She had previously testified in court that her father was the dangerous man behind the murderers, but they kept happening. She gave names for her accomplices, but when Sheriff Lacoste investigated them, they went nowhere. Several arrests were made, but the search for the rest of the Human 5 gang was a dead end. And they still don't know who they are. But they were suspicious, right? Well, the dad could have been one, right? Maybe that other maybe that other gentleman that's accused of the axe murders, that we read about last week, maybe him.
Well, Clementine said 2 men and 2 women.
Yep.
So
The district, maybe her sister, although pleading innocent, maybe her sister's involved. The district attorney, Howard E. Brunner, theorized that some of these murders were copycat crimes, but he believed that Clementine was a moral pervert who was guilty of everything she confessed to. Clementine had admitted to caressing the corpses after she had killed them. Gross! Ew! Ew! Listen, serial killers, don't do that. Don't do that.
Well, here's the thing with that, because caressing doesn't necessarily mean anything sexual.
It's gross. I don't care. It's gross. I don't care if it's sexual. That's gross, Jay. It's just gross. Okay. It's just gross. Like, don't do it. Like, I didn't want to read that. The court records for Barnabel's trial were summarized and published by the Federal Writers Project of 1942, and their account makes plain that there was a great deal of public confusion regarding the details of the case at the time. For one thing, there probably never was a church of sacrifice. They couldn't find it. As the papers had said, Reverend Harris had preached in Lafayette the night of the Randall murders, but was otherwise uninvolved. According to the Federal Writers Project, a state of confusion existed in the public mind regarding the Sacrifice Church, the existence of which has never been established, and the Sanctified Church, and the frequent arrests of the latter were made. It is possible that the words sanctify and sanctified were confused with sacrifice after the voodoo cult rumors began to spread, and that the misinformation was spread from there. Can you believe that? Just a word, just a similar word, put that church on fire, like actually put that preacher and that church in this thing, just because the words were similar. That's just not right. But the voodoo damage had already been done. The Lafayette population was willing enough to place the blame on the nebulous voodoo priestess committing murder while leading a sexual sect. It didn't help that Clementine had named a voodoo priest who had given the invisibility charm to her, Joseph Thibaudiaux. I can't even say this. It's Thibodeaux. I think it's Thibaudiaux. Thibodeau. There you go. Thibodeau. That's it, because of the ending. It's French. Thibodeau. Yeah. Okay.
I believe it's Creole, actually.
Well, yes, probably, since that's where we're coming from. But yeah, but it's just in Creole, got French. Like, come on, Jay, give it to me.
Well, we'll just let you have Thibodeau. How about that?
Thibodeau. It's okay. It's Creole. It's Thibodeau. It's got French derivatives in it, like that's where it comes from. But hey, I digress.
Well, he was a voodoo priest, so it's more likely
he is. I think you're right. I'm going to give it to you. You're definitely right. It's Creole. Okay, but the pronunciation is French. Okay, Thibodeau. She said that he also gave. I swear to God, it's like a married couple up here sometimes. Like, I'm not married anymore. This is really weird. She said that he also.
Pickle says Thibodeau.
Thank you, Thibodeau.
And Janae says it's French Acadian.
Thank you for the word French. Okay, so settle down now, Jay. Okay, just settle down. She said that he also gave her the ideas for the crimes. That Thibodeau swore that had never happened, and that far from being a voodoo priest, he simply engaged in root-based medicine, period. One local paper explained to its reader that Thibodeau has ever been regarded as a peaceful in disposition and harmless in intention kind of guy. Okay. He was noted for practice of conjuring warts away, period. Warts only. That's all he dealt with. Okay. Despite investigators' suspicions regarding Clementine's confession, the stories about her continued to circulate. Brunner officially filed charges against her on April 14th of 1912. While she sat in jail, she confessed to a total of 35 murders, but kept retelling her story with differing details that make it hard to know what the truth actually is. Her defense attorneys claimed she was insane, but she stood trial and was sentenced to life at Louisiana Penitentiary at the ripe old age of 19 years old. She attempted an escape on July 31st, 1913. Why am I not surprised? But was caught the same day. The same day. I mean, she's 19. Right. Okay. She attempted that escape. She got caught the same day. Despite her escape attempt, she was considered a model prisoner. She didn't, however, serve very long. According to one brief report about the prison, Clementine received a procedure that was said to have restored her to her normal condition and which allowed her to be released on good behavior after serving 10 years. Lobotomy, people. Clementine received a lobotomy in prison. I told you it was wild. I told you, okay, yes, they did. Okay, she probably got that lobotomy. That's it.
You know lobotomy, me know lobotomy you.
No, and she no lobota anybody anymore. Okay, so what? God. So what about Clementine's story is real and what is media fabrication? The evidence found in her room and the brain matter on her clothes suggests that Clementine did commit some of these murders, but perhaps not all of them. Dr. Jeff Anderson, a history professor at the University of Louisiana Monroe, tells Mental Floss that either Clementine or someone in her house performed the majority of these murders, but that her confessions are so contradictory. I don't think she totally committed all of the murders that she said she did. The question of Barnabel's accomplices and whether or not they were part of some kind of voodoo cult has never been answered. And there's more. Perhaps if Clementine, I thought that was a great way to end it, but there's more.
Yeah,
There's more because it's the voodoo murders. Like I delivered with this one. This one, there's so much. Perhaps if Clementine's race or class had been different, we'd be closer to knowing the truth, as author James Hoare wrote for Real Crime Daily. She scandalized the press, stirring up a gumbo of moral panic in a state where civil war and slavery remained a living memory. Everything about Clementine Barnabel represented a collision, even a perversion of cultures in the eyes of white Louisiana, from her mangled Creole French to her mangled beliefs, a tabloid baiting blend of voodoo, itself a blend of Catholicism and West African tribal rights and evangelical Christianity. Like there was just a big clash here going on. Strangely enough, there was more than one set of axe murders terrorizing Louisiana around the same time. Here we come with the other set. Nearby, the murderers of the infamous Axeman of New Orleans that we introduced you to last week tormented locals in the late 1910s. The killings have never been solved. And several decades earlier, a killer sometimes called the Servant Girl Annihilator committed several axe murders in 1880s Austin, Texas, crimes that have never been solved either. Experts aren't sure if all these murders are connected, but one thing's for sure. More than a century later, Clementine Barnabel's story, the truth and the tangled legends continue to haunt us. The end. Man, oh man. I'm telling you, is this like a mess or what? Is just a mess. Like, I don't even have anything to say about this, Jay. I think that reading, that said everything. Like, I can't even, I just don't even, I have two more. And, I know, we still have two more. That's it. What do we, okay, we got Delphine and we got Marie. I'm going to let's go with Marie.
I think if
first.
we don't, I don't think, if we don't do Marie, I think the chat's going to riot.
Yeah, we're going to do Marie. And I'll tell you what, people, if we don't do Delphine, we'll do Delphine and I'll add a tour of the LaRue Mansion when we do Delphine to fill the other part. We'll do her next week, okay? I promise, okay? Because I don't think we're going to have time to do both. But Marie is a hot mess too, yeah? Marie Laveau, okay? I hope I said that right.
Yep, Marie Laveau.
Marie Laveau is the voodoo queen of New Orleans.
New Orleans.
Okay?
Nolens.
No, I'm not from there. I don't have to. I'm from Jersey.
She's a
It's New Orleans.
voodoo queen of Nolens.
Oh my God, how am I going to get through this?
What do you want me? I got a perfect one.
You
article.
do? Go ahead.
Yeah.
You want to? Okay, I read for a while, so go ahead and tell.
Right.
Let's give him a crackdown on the wife and mother and voodoo priestess Marie Laveau. Okay,
Marie Laveau. Marie Laveau.
Yes.
So her story actually begins with her grandmother Catherine, who was taken from Africa when she was only 7. Catherine was unbreakable and eventually bought her freedom out of slavery. Catherine then became a businesswoman, owning her own home and tirelessly working to have her 5 children set free. Catherine's daughter Marguerite, which is Marie's mother, was owned by her own father, which was a twisted case of reality during the 18th century, leading all the way to the Emancipation Proclamation. Marguerite was freed from her father at 18, but was then forced into an arranged relationship with an older, rich white man. She had 3 children by him and tried to remain positive despite the situation. But she still secretly wanted more and dared to audaciously wish for love. So Marguerite believed that she had found said love in a man named Charles Laveau, who happened to be the son of a rather important New Orleanian politician. I hope I pronounced that right. The affair resulted in an unexpected pregnancy. Their daughter Marie was born September 10th, 1794 or 1801. The date isn't specific. Fearful of what might happen if to Marie if discovered, Marguerite made a hard choice to leave her daughter to be raised by her mother Catherine, and then return to her arranged relationship. Marie had a peaceful childhood thanks to her grandmother. When she turned 18, Marie met and married a Haitian immigrant, Jacques Paris. Unfortunately, we know very little about this short time of her life, but one day Jacques abruptly disappeared. Excuse me. Did Jacques die, or did his disappearance more selfish in nature, perhaps abandoning his new wife, Marie, in order to return to Haiti? Or, were there circumstances behind the disappearance of a more unspeakable, sinister nature in which he was murdered? Jacques and Marie were married only a year, but we still know little about their day-to-day life as we do about Jacques Paris' ill-timed vanishing act. So, reportedly, just before 1826, Marie met Christophe Glapien, a white man of French nobility whom she entered into a relationship with. Of the approximate 15 children she birthed during the time with Glapien, there were only 2 surviving children. Marie Heloise Euchariste Glapien, born in 1827, and Marie Philomene Glapien, born in 1836. The latter of the two would eventually continue her mother's work and become the famous voodoo princess in her own merit. But for Marie I and her relationship with Glapien, they remained dedicated to one another until his death in the 1850s. And from all accounts, Marie never did strike up another relationship before the death 30 years later. So now, that's just a brief history. Now we're going to get into what actually made Marie the legend of who she was. So,
oh yeah, she's something. I mean, she was, even in death, there's something going on with her grave too. There's all these rituals that people do. They're still afraid of her. Like they're still terrified of her. But was she good or was she bad? Was she a voodoo queen or a good Samaritan? Like, come on, Jay. Like, what do you got?
Well, on Sundays after Mass ended, slaves were free for the rest of the day due to the regulations of the Code Noir, which translates to Black Code. Thousands of enslaved people and free people of color were adventured to Congo Square, located in the back end of the French Quarter, in what would have once been wilderness and untamed swampland. There they could trade or barter for goods and visit with the family members who sold to other slave owners. Who had been... There they could trade and barter for goods and visit with family members who had been sold to other slave owners. They would celebrate with song, music, dancing, and rituals till the night sky fell. Trained by voodoo practitioner Dr. John, allegedly an African prince from Senegal, Marie Laveau quickly became his successor, as well as the main attraction in the center of the square. She would lead enchants, sell cures and charms, also known as gree-grees, and gather intelligence, like NSA. That's what it says, like the NSA.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on the latest scoop of her elite clients, Marie was also
Right.
known to walk around with a boa constrictor draped over her shoulder. The snake's name was Zombie.
Yeah, kind of adding to that mystique, adding to that, like, is she, really being into the voodoo and everything, like not afraid, She did cultivate a climate of a culture of fear around her with these stuff. But,
So the snake's name was Zombie, after the serpent dealer Le Grand Zombie. Slaves were known to gather and praise and shout Queen Marie as a rally cry for all to hear. Marie had welcomed her numerous wealthy clients to Congo Square to bear witness to the sacred rituals, charging them a ticket of sorts for consultations ranging from spiritual healing, herbal remedies, and fortune telling. Voodoo was a business for Marie Laveau, but at the same time, she was known to be truly compassionate, as she would often visit the hospitals of the city and help the poor and sick with her remedies and prayers. So around 1875, now before we get into this, there is something we need to know. So Marie was also known as her official job was a hairdresser to very wealthy white individuals, and that's what they would say why Marie was at their house. And why she was at their house, she would, she had informants within the white households that would give her information. So that's how she got a lot of her stuff. So when, she would talk to these certain people, she would know things about them that she would says was from the spirits or other worldly things. So, I mean, there is that little aspect, but that's not to take away from what actually happens. So in 1875, Marie became sick and confined herself to her home on Rue Saint Anne. According to various newspaper accounts, Marie was so sick that she rarely emerged from Saint Anne at the end of her life.
Mm-hmm.
The original Marie Laveau house was torn down in 1903, and the new structure was built on the same foundations as the original, making some believe that the residential energy from Marie Laveau still caused this location home. That is a common thing with ghost stories, especially if as an old house is being remodeled or torn down. There's many cases of people talking about hearing voices and ghosts and things like that. So that's not an uncommon thing with ghost stories. So people have claimed to have seen her walking down St. Anne Street wearing a long white dress. Her trademark tigon, which is a turban headdress, or tigon.
I'm gonna show that actually.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with tigon.
Yep.
A turban headdress, which supposedly had 7 points folded in to represent a crown. She is the queen of voodoo, after all. Marie's spirit and those of her followers are known to still perform rituals aside at her old house. One source even claims that the rituals often included animal sacrifices for protection. Now, we look at that animal sacrifice thing, and not we, but some people will look at it as a satanic type thing, a very bad thing. But if you, in Haitian practices, especially, and other things, that is not an uncommon practice. If you look at the early not Christian, but older, early Jewish traditions, they would sacrifice animals. So it was just, it's got a bad rap, amongst other things. So
she was a strikingly beautiful woman, and so were most of her ancestors, for the time. But that is the headdress that she wore all the time up there. That's why I wanted to put this up there from the other article, just briefly, so you guys could see all of these articles that Jay will link me the ones he's using, and we will link them down below for you guys.
Actually, reading right off of that one right there.
This one, I know. See, we're good. We twins in on the research. Look at that.
Symmachus said yes. Pagans did also. Yeah, they did.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
No, I'm not talking about her headdress. No, I am not. I'm saying she got a bad rap because, she's talking about a comment in there, because there is the thing from this article, right? Is she the voodoo queen, is she that evil, or was she a good Samaritan? Because although she had all this fear culture going on, right, Jay? Didn't she do a lot of good works?
She did a lot of good work.
A lot of good works for the people. So I don't think she was the murdering thing that they say she was. I think she's all because of the time and the culture and what was around at the time. Because, like, let's remember, people, this is Louisiana, back voodoo Louisiana at the time. Okay, voodoo was common. It wasn't hidden in the dark. It was in the streets. Like, it was out there. She's just getting caught up in the whole culture of it and doing her thing, and they're giving her a bad rap. Not the headdress. She's getting played for it. I really think she was a good Samaritan. I do. I don't know. But anyway, Jake, we can go further with that when you get further in the article.
Well, I'm going to skip down to the actual obituary of Marie Laveau. So the obituary from the New Orleans Daily Picayune, the predecessor to the Times Picayune, says a woman with a wonderful history, almost a century old, carried to the tomb yesterday evening. Those who passed by the quaint old house on St. Anne between Rappert and Burgundy Streets with the high, frail-looking fence in front with which a tree or two is visible have noticed through an open gateway a decrepit old lady with snow-white hair and a smile of peace and contentment lighting up her golden features. For a few years past, she has been missed from her accustomed place. The feeble old lady lays upon her bed with her daughter and grandchildren around her, ministering to her wants. Marie was buried at the family tomb in St. Louis Cemetery, number 1. So we have some haunting tombs and some encounters with ghosts.
Yes, always Createful is in the chat, and Kim told me about a ritual. And I should put up, I don't remember all of it, but something about having to bring 3 things and turn 3 times. What was that, Kim? Help me out here.
I've got it
in the chat with that.
For you.
You do? Oh, you do? Good. Because like we were talking about it earlier today, she's from the area. So like she's rich in the good culture and history here for me. She's my go-to on facts. And on coffee debating, apparently. Yeah, you're in trouble.
Of all the sites from around the world associated with voodoo, the tomb of Marie Laveau is top on the list and has become a focal point for tour groups. Visitors sometimes leave offerings at the site in the form of coins, beads, and candles as part of voodoo tradition. According to one local legend, Marie Laveau's spirit can be invoked to grant wishes. First, you must begin by knocking 3 times on the slab, and then, and only then, may you ask for a favor. Another theory states that you must draw the X, place your hand over it, rub your foot 3 times against the bottom, throw some silver coins into a cup, and make your wish. A third source claims that to receive a wish, you need to leave offerings of food, money, and flowers, and then ask for Marie's help after turning around 3 times and marking a cross with red brick on the stone. Okay, so there's a disclaimer here that says, while you may have once seen carvings on the tomb along with the red X's and scribbled names, this is against the law. Even if you want Marie Laveau's help so desperately, don't succumb to ruining your tomb. You're much better off visiting her official shrine at the Healing Center of St. Claude, just across from the new St. Roch Market. Yeah, Krabby says, do it wrong and you're cursed.
It's true. It's true. I'm telling you.
So we do have some encounters with ghosts of the Voodoo Queen.
Yes.
One infamous ghostly encounter took place during the Great Depression. As the story goes, a homeless... What? No?
No, yeah. I mean, you're kidding. We got ghosts too? Like, wait a minute. Like, I'm getting goosebumps here. Like, this one, this voodoo, this one's getting me. I'm enjoying this immensely. Can you tell? I'm in a really good mood. We're talking 35 murders as 19-year-old, like craziness, good Samaritans. I'm having a happy time here.
Okay, so one infamous ghostly encounter took place during the Great Depression. As the story goes, a homeless man fell asleep on the top of the tomb in the cemetery, but shortly after falling asleep, he suddenly woke to the banging of drums and eerie chanting. He happened upon the tomb of Marie, where he encountered the ghosts of nude men and women dancing around the tomb. In the center, it was Marie and her boa zombie. A man named Elmore Banks had another experience in the St. Louis Cemetery number 1 in the mid-30s when an old woman came into the drugstore where he was a customer. For some reason, she left the proprietor feeling frightened as he quickly proceeded to run off to the back of the store. The woman laughingly asked Elmer Banks, "Don't you know me?" He says, "No, ma'am." The woman, angered by his answer, slapped him across the face. Then she jumped in the air and levitated out the door and over the top of the telephone wires. When she passed over the graveyard wall, she vanished into thin air. As you can imagine, Banks was terrified at the sight of a levitating woman, and he left him passed out cold. He was revived by the store proprietor, who gave him some whiskey and informed him that was Marie Laveau.
Okay. Well, talent. They levitated, went over the oh my. Okay. Ghosts. All right. Well, if she was all that and into all that, and I guess that goes with the ghost thing too. They're not gonna let it die, right? She's a legend. She is a legend. Absolutely.
Well, there's a little bit more to this.
No.
Yes.
You got more? You have more.
After Marie I died in 81, the Queen's look-alike daughter, Marie Laveau II, followed in her mother's footsteps and took over the family business.
There you go.
Marie II looked so much like her mother that people
look at that picture, people.
That people who in the city who saw her thought that the Queen had been resurrected from the dead. Maybe they said in hushed whispers, Marie Laveau was even immortal. Naturally, they wondered why she appeared so much younger in the vigor of her youthful days. Maybe she used the Sanderson sisters' potion to suck the lives out of children so that they may remain young forever. So it sounds like a hocus pocus jokes, but there was an actual rumor at the time that Marie Laveau consumed the soul of her fellow New Orleans to gain her youthfulness. Marie II, ever the businesswoman like her mother, didn't mind the attention or the free publicity. But unlike her mother, Marie II was rumored to embrace the darker side of voodoo. She was known to throw extremely wild rituals around New Orleans. She capitalized on her mother's success and grew her own audience. Celebrations on Bayou celebrations on Bayou St. John became the perfect venue for Marie II to perform. Marie made sure that the tourists knew about it. Tourists can still be in the know. At the Marie Laveau's House of Voodoo on Bourbon Street, a one-stop shop for Marie II. But St. John's Eve was different. It was sacred, strictly locals only event.
Let me see. Wow. And she was the business one. They have a store in Nolens. I have to say it right for always.
Nolens.
In Nolens. In Nolens, okay?
Nolens.
In Nolens, they have a store for Marie, okay? And when she goes there into the store, it feels like you could feel her energy and it still creeps her out. And I hear you about that. And Samachis says this sounds it reminds me a bit of that infamous Hungarian countess, but I forget her name. Shocking. I wish you would remember. I've been trying to find her name, but I know who you're talking about, and I'm trying to figure out who it is. Somebody else brought that up. Is it
Elizabeth Bathory?
That's it. And I have that name to do next after Delphine. You know what? Samachis, stick around. I have that name. Yes. That was put in the chat. That was actually yes. Oh my gosh.
Check out my Beavers units comment.
No, wait, I'm gonna put it up just because girl, and you know why I'm putting it up? Because you didn't put it in caps. I could put it up. She looks like a friend of mine. Her name is clairesbear. They have the same part, I think. Shut up, girl. Shut up. No. Okay, all right. So after you go to her store, you just go down a little bit to Lafayette and get some absinthe. Yes, you know what? I am actually fond of that stuff. I am fond. I will meet you there always, and we'll go to Nolens, and we will go have some absinthe, and we'll go to the store. That would be great. That would be a great first date. That's what you should have put on, if you knew me in real life, when I put it on Twitter, because that would be a great first date. Don't you agree, Jay? Okay. They're getting crazy. All right. So, Marie, what do you think now after you read all that? Good Samaritan or Voodoo Queen, evil, sucking the souls out of people?
There's nothing. there is nothing evil about.
No,
Voodoo.
Poor Marie getting a bad rap, for her religion. Come on.
So I want to read something here. So it says, and some of you may recognize this, and if you recognize it, I want you to put it in the comments.
All right.
So it says, down in Louisiana, where the black trees grow, lives a voodoo lady named Marie Laveau. She's
Mm-hmm.
got a black cat's tooth and a mojo bone, and anyone who wouldn't leave her alone, she'd go, another man done gone. She lived in a swamp in a hollow log with a one-eyed snake and a three-legged dog. Bent, bony body and stringy hair, and if she ever seen y'all messing around here, she'd go, another man done gone. And then one night, when the moon was black, into the swamp came Handsome Jack, and no good man like you'll all know, looking around for Marie Laveau. He said, Marie Laveau, you lovely witch, give me a little charm that'll make me rich. Give me $1 million and I'll tell you that I'll do. This very night, I'm going to marry you. Then it'll be another man done gone. So Marie done some magic, shook a little sand, made $1 million, and she put it in his hand. And she giggled and wiggled, and she said, hey, hey, I'm going to get ready for my wedding day. But handsome old Jack said, goodbye, Marie. You're too damn ugly for a rich man like me. Marie started mumbling, her fangs started gashing, her body started trembling, and her eyes started flashing. And she went, another man done gone. So if you ever went down there to the black trees grow and meet a voodoo lady named Marie Laveau, if she ever asks you to make her your wife, man, you better stay with her for the rest of your life, or it'll be another man gone.
Oh, another man gone. This sounds so familiar to me. So familiar to me.
That is by a song named Marie Laveau by Bobby Bear, and was written by the legendary Shel Silverstein.
Shel Silverstein. Shel Silverstein from The Giving Tree? Like
The
that
Giving
one?
Tree, yep.
Okay, cool.
Shel Silverstein also wrote most of the songs for Dr. Hook and the Medicine Show also.
There you go. So he's got some Creole like back in there, like in the So, so I found something, Jay. It seems that when people from New Jersey go to Louisiana, bad shit happens. All right. I'm just warning you, Kim, when we go to New Orleans. Anyway, it might be a thing because they're going to have a thing against Jersey because Laveau's name and her history have been surrounded by legend and lore. In 1982, New Jersey-based punk rock group The Misfits were arrested and accused of attempting to exhume Laveau from her grave after a local concert. Because they're insane, okay? The arrest took place in nearby cemetery number 2, and there are conflicting accounts of the incident, but Marie Laveau is generally believed to have been buried in plot 347, the Glapion family crypt in St. Louis Cemetery number 1, New Orleans, but this has been disputed by, oh my gosh, I have to open it up. It's too big, okay? This has been disputed by Robert Taliant, a journalist who used her as a character in historical novels. Tourists continue to visit, and some draw X marks in accordance with the decades-old tradition that if people wanted Laveau to grant them a wish, they had to draw an X, like you said, on a turn 3 times and knock on the tomb and yell out their wish. And if it was granted, come back and circle the X and, leave an offering. It's very complicated. Okay, like I don't know if you forget any of the steps, I don't think it's going to be good. But anyway, the tomb in St. Louis Cemetery number 1 was vandalized by unknown persons in December of 2013 also by being painted over with pink latex paint. That's just wrong, people. The paint was removed because the structure is made of old plaster and the latex paint would seal in moisture that would destroy the plaster. Some historical preservation experts criticized the decision by the officials of the Archdiocese of New Orleans, who maintain the cemetery, for their decision to use pressure washing rather than paint stripper to remove it. In March 2015, there is no longer public access to the cemetery. Entry with a tour guide is required because of continued vandalism and destruction of the tombs. This change was made by the Archdiocese of New Orleans to protect the tomb of the Laveau family, as well as those of the many other dead interred there around. Like, she's a problem, even dead. She was causing, and it's not her fault. It's everybody else. Like, leave the woman alone. Come on. But those misfits, like giving New Jersey a bad name, I'm not happy with them. They shouldn't have did that.
So we got a little, Marie doesn't just, she encompasses everything. So I've got some stuff here on her legacy and pulp culture.
In pop culture. Okay,
In
I'd
pop
like
culture.
that part of it. Yes, because there have been books written. There had been many series about her.
So we'll start off with the numerous songs about Marie Laveau.
Okay.
We have Marie Laveau by Papa Celestin.
Okay.
Marie Laveau that I read to you guys, written by Shel Silverstein, recorded by Dr. Hook and Bobby Bear. We have The Witch Queen of New Orleans from 1971 by Redbone.
That's about her? Redbone? That's about
the
I didn't know that.
Witch
Cool.
Queen of New Orleans.
Okay.
Dixie Drugstore by Grantley Buffalo. X Marks the Spot, Marie Laveau by Joe Sample, and Marie Laveau by Dr. John. Okay. We also have 2013's Marie Laveau by Tao of Sound. We have the Voodoo Queen Marie is the minstrel tune, Colored Aristocracy. So, Aristocracy by the Holy Modal Rounders. The Witch Queen of New Orleans by Total Tolly. The Window Paris by the Get Up Kids. Marie Laveau by the Danish metal band Volbeat. Volbeat.
Volbeat? Okay. Yep.
Volbeat. She is also mentioned in the song I Will Pay for Gumbo by Jimmy Buffett and Claire by Fairground Attraction. The Los Angeles band Canned Heat featured a 5-minute instrumental called Marie Laveau on their second album, Boogie with Canned Heat.
Wait a minute. Why would they name the song Claire?
No, she's mentioned. She's mentioned in the song Claire.
She okay. Yeah. That's not boding well for me. I'm not liking this. I'm not liking this. Okay, but there's a lot, Jay. That's a lot. Yeah.
Well, I'm still not done.
Wow.
A musical from 1999 named Marie Christine is also based on the life of Marie Laveau. She is the protagonist of such novels as Robert Tollant's The Voodoo Queen, Francine Prose's eponymous Marie Laveau from 1977, Joel Parker Rhodes' Voodoo Dreams, a novel of Marie Laveau. She's also been a supporting character in Night Huntress novels by Janine Frost as a powerful ghoul still living in New Orleans in the 21st century. She's also appeared as a background character in Barbara Hamby's Benjamin January mystery series. She's also in Neil Gaiman's novel American Gods under her married name Marie Perry.
Yep. But Marie Perry, yep, she's an American Gods. I know that one.
Let's see. So there is a character named Marie Laveau, which is loosely based on the real Marie Laveau that appears in Marvel Comics. Her first appearance was in Dracula Lives #2 in 1973. And she also appears in the Italian comic book Zagar. In television, a highly fictionalized Marie Laveau, portrayed by Angela Bassett, appears as the character in the American Horror Story Coven and American Horror Story Apocalypse. She also appears in the Canadian television series Lost Girl. I watched that show, but I didn't watch the end. I don't remember her being there. But Raven would know more. She watched all of it. Interesting enough, Marie Laveau was also mentioned in Young Sheldon. Episode 7 of season 1, and Legends of Tomorrow in episode 7 of season 4. She's mentioned in a youth novel Voodoo Moon by Wendy Corsi Stubb, and also mentioned in the game Gabriel Knight Sins of the Father. So, and then there is numerous biographies on her.
Wow, there's just so much. I mean, so much. I didn't know she was in Young Sheldon too. Like I missed that. But my gosh, man, she's really all over it. Like, Inquisitis says, I believe you cannot say there's good without bad. We have opposing in everything. In my opinion, life and death, good and bad, pretty, ugly, rich and poor. I do believe, Bear. And you know what? You're right. I do too. I'm just thinking she did good, she really did some good. And I don't think they talk about it enough. They'd rather talk about all this other stuff,
Yeah. They don't, you get a brief mention of the trips she used to make to the hospitals or the things she used to go. Right. She used to go to sick people's houses and help them get well and stuff.
And heal them. She was like a healer. She did a lot of healing. Yeah. She did a lot of good. She did a lot of charity work. She did actually make those those slave owners pay very well for her services. Like
Oh
she
yeah.
did get the money
She
from
was
them.
not. Yeah,
But
she was.
yeah, she ripped them off like left and right, and more power to her because she gave that money to the people who needed it. She fed people. She healed people.
Yeah, Krabby had
She
mentioned.
encouraged people.
Krabby had mentioned earlier that she loves the way that they'd get one over on the slave owners like that.
Yes, you did. I didn't put it up because we weren't talking about that yet, but yes, she did. That came right from our friend Krabby in there. She was like, "Yep, I'm all for it," and I agree with you, Krabby. I'm totally all for it. You know, she did get that. You know, get more money from them than anything, and then just passed it on where it was needed. You know, so I love. It's so cool. It is so cool.
Raven said she was in the last season or 2 of that show, Lost Girl, which is actually a really good show.
Yeah.
If you guys haven't seen it, if you get a chance, find that show. It's called Lost Girl. It's a good show.
Is it on Netflix or is it?
I don't know if it is on Netflix. It's it's about a girl who's actually a succubus.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And
somebody else told me about that.
Yeah, there's werewolves and leprechauns and all kinds of. It was a good show.
Oh my god! Oh my god! That's like
for the first couple seasons, and then I kind of got bored of it. But Raven ended up watching the whole thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna be. Well, that is our. You know what? We are not gonna have time for Delphine. I am going to do Delphine Monday without Jay.
Yeah, because I won't be here.
He's not invited. Yeah, that's what he's telling you. But it's the coffee. It's the coffee debate. I'm kicking him. I'm kicking him. That's it. We're spreading the rumor here now. We're breaking up. We're not streaming Thursday. We're not streaming Friday. He's got to get right with this coffee stuff. I'm just gonna put it out there. This is too much for the bear. No.
Okay. Commentary. Kelly says, remember to read the comment from the Jack the Ripper.
Yes. Thank you, Kelly. I was just getting there. So we're going to wound up in the next couple minutes, Jay. So you could have the floor, your last appearance on my show. Go for it.
So bear with me because punctuation is not this guy's friend.
Wait. Did you just say, what'd you say?
I said, bear with me. And Krabby says, wait a damn minute. You can't break up.
We're not breaking up. It's all a joke. It's all a joke. Beavers, I already saw Mockflix for today. Okay, well, I laugh. I mean, it was funny. It was. Yeah. I check out his stuff. I love that bird. You guys know I stand that bird. TRO or not. Go on. All right. Go ahead, Jeff. TRO.
Now, mind you, I'm going to read this as it is written because punctuation is not this guy's friend.
Mm-hmm.
So this has to do with our Jack the Ripper. Oops, wrong video. Wrong Jack the Ripper video. The live stream me and Claire did on Jack the Ripper.
Mm-hmm.
Let me find it here. There we go. All right. Where's your, come on.
He's great in quiz, isn't he? I love streaming with Jay. It's only a rumor. Krabby, I assure you, we're not really breaking up.
No, we're not breaking up, Krabby.
But we are like instigating this whole thing to get me to 1,000 members. We're just going to cause some drama because apparently that works out there. So we're breaking up. Just spread the rumor, minions. Go ahead, go out there, get me some get me to 1,000 so I can offer memberships and stuff. And
all right,
do all of that stuff. But yeah, go on.
I'm going to read this as written, so bear with me.
Stop saying that.
Oh no, trust me.
Okay, go ahead.
I was not going to comment until I read somebody thought the Ripper was a woman. Now I don't know how many of you on here know anything about serial murder other than what you get watching shows about them, but I have been studying serial murder for years, and if you have done the same, then you will see things in cases others will not. As with this case, I had not read any Ripper books before I researched this case. I used what I learned and today's tools, and I found Jack. The only thing I don't have is the hard evidence that would put him on death row, and that is only because of how old this case is and all of the greedy rat authors that have muddled the waters so bad that now they have turned the cases into a joke. He said punctuation is not this guy's friend.
Okay, does he mean we're turning it into a joke or the investigators were turning it into a joke? So, okay, good. All right.
It says, anyway, as I was saying, this is what he says. Anyways, as I was saying, I found Jack, and it was not that hard to find him. He was right there, as he said, under their noses. This man was talked to by police and was passed over. He was 28 years old. He lived alone on Commercial Street and Wentworth Street, right in the middle of all the murders. So he knew the area very well and was stout and stood 5'7", dark brown hair with small brown mustache, and he was seen at one of the murder scenes 1 hour before the murder. Now, we would not even, space, something.
Yeah, I know, right? What a sentence! That sentence was a paragraph long. I know why you're saying bear with me.
It's not even the longest sentence here.
My head is exploding. Like, oh God, I'm oh my gosh. Go ahead, better you than me. I'd be red penning, and I know they mean well, but I'm old.
Now, we would not even know who this man was had he not been seen by a woman named Sarah Lewis. The man she saw matched in every way the man the police should have been looking for. That man was George Hutchinson. He only went to police 3 days later after the inquest was over and heard he had been seen. You see, what most people don't know is serial killers don't leave evidence behind very often. They get caught because of their ego. Once caught, that is when we get the evidence to put them on death row. Jack was no different. Had police known back then what we do now, Jack would have been caught and hanged. In this case, Jack the Ripper, a.k.a. George Hutchinson, showed his ego the night he was brave enough to stand outside Marie Kelly's flat for 45 minutes, not only waiting to strike, but also thinking he would not be seen. Then when he got away with murder, he thought all was great till he heard that he had been seen. He got scared. He could have done two things. One, he could have done nothing and hope nobody came knocking. Or he could give a statement as to why he was out there, not because his ego was so big of not being caught and being the talk of the world. He could not leave it out of his statement.
Wow.
I told you that
but one. But they know a lot. They know a lot about this. Why aren't they with our murder minions? They need to join. Like horses, they need to join.
No, let's not, because I'll explain to you why he's got.
Okay. I don't like the sound of that.
Then when he got away with murder, he thought all was great till he heard that he had been seen. He got scared. He could have done two things, but I already went over that part. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to tell. There's no periods. Yeah. I bet you there's no capital letters either.
There are a lot of clues in that statement. I won't tell you all of them, but here are two. He admits he knows Mary. He's talking about Mary Kelly. And other people confirm this is true. Why this is a clue is that this type of serial killer will always try to get a victim they do not know, but if they do kill a victim, they know they will cover or destroy the face and sometimes the body. And of Jack's victims, only 2 had their faces destroyed and more damage to the bodies than the other victims. Number 2, you can tell Jack has been following the talk in the street and the papers. When they saw he must be a Jew, he gave them the writing on the wall. When they said it was a rich toff down slumming, he gave them the description we see today in movies, books, plays, etc., etc. The police back then did not catch Jack the Ripper because they had no idea what a serial killer was or how to catch one, and that is why you can't use what police said back then. And they were looking for a crazy person, and this is why all of your top suspects either were in asylum or had been in one, and then you bring in the authors and all their so-called suspects that had done nothing but black mark people who did nothing, and for them to make money off the victims. And to me, that is very sad and disrespectful to see how far humans will go to make money. So there you go. You now know who Jack was and why he was not caught and why he could have been, had he done the crimes today, the cops would have been smarter back then. My brain hurts.
Wow, that's the end of it, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
One really long paragraph with almost no joy.
And that fit all in the back of the video? Does it take up the whole video?
Yeah. So I looked at George Hutchinson because I'd never heard of the name. And he was
okay. How often do people ask you if your real name is Owen Wilson?
Yeah, I never.
Never, I'd never heard that. Yeah,
so I had never heard of.
She's taking because of your voice.
Oh, after listening to you talk, no, I've never correlated
that. I have a terrible urge to run to that video, copy that comment, and red pen it. Like that was terrible, Jay.
It was. Yeah, like Raven said, this guy got upset. We thought Jack could be female and went on a tirade.
And he went on a tirade because he doesn't think it's a female or anything. He thinks it's this guy, George Hudson. He's going to prove it to us with all the same stuff we said about somebody else. Like, so how is it George? And I... Where's he getting that description?
I know. Like, I love that. They always said, so if he had done the crimes today, the cops would have been smarter back then. How does that make much sense?
It doesn't. Like, that's what I mean. It's like, you know, they didn't know about serial killers back then. They weren't ready for it. I'm like, bullshit. They would, like, obviously we read about this stuff all the time. There were serial killers everywhere.
So,
like,
yeah. So George Hutchinson was actually thought of as a suspect at first.
For a hot minute.
Even by Inspector Abilene.
Mm-hmm.
But he was ruled out because all of the stuff that he brought to them was stuff you could have found in the paper, including his description of Jack, which was actually a description that two other witnesses had given, except he got the height wrong. They said Jack was about 5'5". He said 5'7".
Right. Okay. So this guy just believes because George is just faking it, and he's falling for it.
Yeah,
right?
He was, you know,
because wasn't George like he was just like inserting himself into the investigation?
Exactly. That's what they believe. That's why he's not considered an actual legit suspect, because they believe he was just looking for his 15 minutes of fame. Because I found a small article about George Hutchinson on the Jack the Ripper tours. I did not find him on jacktheripper.org at all. And then a couple other places where I was looking up suspects, his name was never mentioned. I only found him in the one place.
Well, I do like the idea that he took it so seriously and he gave us some facts and why he was thinking the way they think. He, she, or whoever this commenter is. The commenter did take it seriously. I give him credit for that. Like, that's nice. But like, okay. That's all I can say.
I just like how the armchair detective decides he knows more than people who spent
actually
years and years and years
looking at it, right?
Study. Yeah. This armchair detective went, I know who it was.
Listen, I know who it was. The cops were stupid. They let that guy go. It was him. I mean, that's basically what he said. So, and then I got just, that comment needed to end with this. End.
Yeah.
That.
I'm surprised it didn't have that.
That would have been my reply. Matter of fact, Jay, I'm going there now. I'm going there now. If you didn't delete it, that's my comment.
No, it's there. I'm leaving that there because
leave that there. That's a beautiful
Joey Lowell.
Oh, well, Joey Lowell, I give you mad respect for believing the way you do and fighting so hard for your truth. But I actually think the cops knew what they were doing by telling that faker to hit the road, because he did only repeat the same evidence that other people had already said. He had nothing new. He brought nothing. And that's why Jay and I didn't pay attention. He was a copy. He was trying to insert him. It wasn't even
like I said, he wasn't even in the high list of suspects.
Okay, but thank you for bringing it up so we could remind everybody about it. If you're thinking we forgot part of it, and I know you're not coming for us, you're just how you feel. Yeah. And if you would like to join the crew, I really think you'd be very good at some of the stuff we're doing. Come join the Murder Minions. Like, we will talk to all of you about this stuff. We're very confident in where we get our information. Jay and I go back and forth about it. And we're not saying that it's the absolutes. It's all just opinions. And we try to bring as much fact as we can. And unfortunately, George is a fact of misrepresentation, in our opinion. Yep. He was trying to insert himself where he didn't belong. And we actually think the police got this right. I will give him some credit. The police did bumble this a lot with Jack. We know that, right, Jay? Yep. We saw it, and they're messing with it, a bunch of stuff. It wasn't the best, but they did know what serial killers were. It wasn't like they weren't, they didn't see any. It was gruesome. It was horrible. There was a lot of panic, but it's not like the police couldn't handle it. They were trying. They really were. It was just there was a lot going.
I have to say, and I need to make this abundantly clear. when I do research on something, I don't take from one article. I take from
No.
multiple
Who does
articles.
that? Who would do
A
that?
lot of people will just run off of one
Oh,
article.
you mean those people that take an article and just read the whole article? That's it. They don't do any commentary on it. They don't extrapolate. Like I know I read an article. Like, don't come for me, people. I know I just read an article. That's not what I'm saying. You can read articles, but you have to extrapolate. You have to add other things to it, other information, and you can't just go by one source. That's not, that's not cool. And even for the people with the articles, like just take their stuff and, do that.
We may read from a article here or there here on this show, but
or Murderpedia.
It's because that article or even Murderpedia is probably the best article that contains all the information we have found from other articles.
Right. And we want to link you to it. We want to give you something later, because this is a lot of stuff we throw at you, right, Jay? We throw a lot of stuff at you, and some of you really like it, and we want to give you more to go on later. What are you looking at? What do you want me to put up?
Meaver said I'll send you something, but
I don't know.
Oh, Ulysses is so boring.
James Joy, you know what? But it was. But you know when it was good, Jay? I recommend the graphic novel Ulysses. I got it for my grandson. He loved it.
Yeah,
he knocked him out of the park. Try it that way. It was great.
The Iliad and the Odyssey is so boring too.
Try that graphic novel style. They do them both.
Yeah, I will have to check them out because if you actually read or listen to the Homer's, the Iliad, or the Odyssey, it'll put you to sleep.
This is how I get a young teenager, like early teenage boy, to read the classics, graphic novels. People, they work. Just my little tidbit for the day. There you go. Oh, just play. I'm not opening it on stream. I fell for that before with somebody else. There's no way I'm opening any messages on stream, Beaver. I will check it out after they send me buzzing noises and stuff. It's terrible, Jay. I mean, they just crickets, like all kinds of stuff I get.
Wow.
But, yeah. Try reading The Grapes of Wrath. I have, Trisha. I have read it. I'm a literal.
I love Krabby says, nope. If you don't suffer reading it, it's just not the same.
It's true. You got to get is that it? You got to get the headache. You got to torture yourself, or it's just, okay. I was trying to help, but all right, but I know, Beaver. I'll get to it. All right. On that, we're going to say goodbye. Let me
I want to say something because I do have some bad news. For the next 3 weeks, there will be no show on Thursday. My schedule has changed. I'm going to be working from 4:30 in the afternoon till 1 a.m.
That's what he says, but it's really because he's going to lose that debate on Wednesday. He'll be hiding.
No, we have inventory coming up for the place I work, so we've got to get ready for inventory. So for the next 3 weeks, I won't be able to, but I'm going to try to put out some actual videos. So
Raven and I are going to let you go with that story. We know it's really all about the debate. We're going to let you go with that, right, Raven? We're just going to, and while we win the debate on coffee, because like the whole chat's like with us on that. They were throwing coffee at you before,
I know.
Right?
As soon as I got on,
everywhere you go, you're going to get coffee.
Everywhere I go.
Right? Yeah, everywhere you go. Oh, and by the way, they were dabbing the hell out of you. They were dabbing the hell out of you in the chat too.
I know. I'm going to see about doing some early shows. So I'm not just leaving you guys hanging. So.
Well, we'll do Delphine. We'll try to.
I will be here Wednesday. Always, and I've got articles in big words and stuff too. So,
you got big words too?
Yep, I got big words too.
Ooh, do you have the chemical compound of coffee? Can you analyze it?
I can probably look it up.
I'm bringing a scientist.
So there you
go. This is not going to work for you. Because my opening argument seals the deal. Look at the chat, like the people, Jay, I don't know why you wanted to do this. You're getting a lot of hate. It's almost like my AITA when you earned the number 42 with my mods and just they called you the coffee hating asshole forever, but you're just really going home with that. Like you're doubling down.
I am triple and quadrupling down on this one.
Right. On that, I will just say that I'm not streaming tomorrow. Jay's not streaming tomorrow. We have Wednesday morning, you guys? Oh yeah, we got the debate Wednesday morning about coffee, which I'm trying to avoid. I'm trying really hard. It's not working. And then Wednesday.
Here's the thing: you're the one that turned it into a debate.
How did I do that? You made a stream.
I said I was going to do a stream on why coffee is bad for you. You decided you're going to come in with why coffee's good for you and turned it into.
Well, then I don't have to show up technically, right? You're planning on. So there you go. There you go.
Because
I need you there. What did I tell you when I joined Hereticals? What did I say? I don't argue with closed doors. I do not argue with these people that don't hear anything you say. Like, so I can't even believe I'm in this debate about coffee because it's like ridiculous. It's like it's a non-sec. Let's just say that. I do not want to argue a non-sec with you about coffee. It's ridiculous.
No. We can bring your stuff because we can argue about coffee.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be fun. I don't like to argue with you though. It gives me like I don't like it hurts my fifis. And I have to stream that night about Johnny Depp, which is what I'm going to do Wednesday evening after I trounce the coffee heater in this debate that apparently I brought on myself.
Well, you're already down one debate, so let's see if you can recover from this.
I actually gave that to you because I'm not going to argue evidence that can't be proven. So I did get that to you. Although I still believe she did it. I
love what Kelly said. Claire versus Jay 2022 tickets on sale now.
Yes,
contact
please.
your nearest mom for further details.
There you go. So also, just a couple of announcements, and then we'll let you guys all go off all the rest of your evening. We did an hour and a half tonight, and we didn't even finish because VooDoo was wild. I hope you enjoyed it because I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too, Jay, because that was a riot. Like, I enjoyed that one immensely. It's almost as good as Catherine. Almost as good as Catherine. But on that, if you want to join the Discord as a murder minion, please, if you do Discord, you don't have to wait for membership with that. We're going to be doing roundtables and phone calls and working on streams together. It's where you can throw your ideas for further streams and talk about these people, outside of our live chats once a week and all. It's just a way to continue with the series with you on an individual basis. If you would like to, you can hit either I or Jay's DMs with your Discord ID number. You need to friend us first, and then we'll pop you in there. Okay. And on that, you do have to have Discord to do that. And you don't have to wait for membership. The other thing I'd like to remind you is do the YouTube things, people. Please do the YouTube things. I hate saying that. It's like it just goes against me, right, Jay? Like I hate to do it, but hit like and comment, share button. It all registers as engagement, and it gets us in the algorithm, and it's going to give you more people to talk to about murder. That's it. Because if I get in the algorithm, more people will come to the chat. You'll have more people to tell your murder stories and talk about this gruesome stuff. And I think that's fun. So help us along with that by do the YouTube things a little bit there. I'll be streaming with Jay Wednesday morning on Hereticals. I will have the link on the back of my community tab for you. I'll put that up tonight. So that you can see it early. And then Wednesday night, I'll be doing Johnny Depp with the cognac-laced voice of Mandy, although she doesn't drink. She just is smooth like that. She is just so smooth. I love, and she knows her Depp. And there was a lot of legal stuff that happened recently. So we'll be going in on Johnny Depp before this trial that's coming up. That'll be Wednesday at 10 o'clock. The rest of it will be on the back of my channel. And on that, you have anything to say, Jay, except for this whole fake thing about you having to work and everything, and it's not going to be around, because of that. We're breaking up, people.
Well, I'll be mornings. I just won't be afternoons and evenings.
No. You're going to see after Wednesday, we're going to be broke up. We are going to be no longer the dynamic duo of
don't
crime.
Don't say that. You make Krabby come up and stab us both.
Murder over coffee. That's it. Krabby, that's my argument. That's my opening argument. Listen, Krabby, come help me. Come help me on Wednesday. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, outro coming, Jay.
Take care of yourselves and take care of your family.
It was nice. It was nice streaming with you as long as it lasted, as brief as it was. Our short career together. I'll see you on the other streets sometime. But on that, I'll see you Wednesday actually morning and Friday morning and like everywhere else. But anyway,
take care of you and yours.
Yeah. Everybody have a great night.
Slice, baby.
Oh, stabbies. Bye.